This is Charleston's retirement coach, Brandon Bowen.
And I'm at the branch here with Brandon to talk about things you can be working on to better prepare for your financial future. Bowen Wealth is where you can go to begin your own conversation with Brandon and his team. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there or, again, visit us at bowenwealth.com. So when it comes to our retirement fears, we always talk about the fear of outliving our money. Obviously, number one fear that we face in retirement. However, with the national debt going up and up and up and up and up and up and up, so many of us are now going, what's going to happen with our taxes in the years ahead?
Yeah.
Especially for those of us that have saved, if so many of us have all of our savings in a 401k, a pre-tax IRA type account. So it's like, if taxes keep going up, all that money that we've saved hasn't been taxed yet. We could really be in for it. And if you have this fear, you are not alone. Enter comedian Joe Zimmerman. He was talking about his biggest fear is also taxes.
I worry about it all year long because other countries, the government will tell you what you owe and then you just have to pay it. Here, the government's like, okay, what do you think you owe us? I have no idea. Just tell me. Nope, you got to add it up. Well, I'm really unorganized. What happens if I add it up wrong? You could go to jail. Oh, my.
It's a lot of pressure. A lot of us feel this same kind of nervousness when it comes to, particularly, again, thinking about the debt. What's it going to be in our retirement years? When it comes to tax planning, a lot of us immediately think about the whole idea of our annual April 15th. But for clients that you have worked with, how often does this happen? Do you have clients who you're talking with them and they just did not realize that tax planning, how important it is as part of their retirement planning? What did they say when you show them differences in the money they get to keep? How does this conversation go?
Yeah, that is most every time, I would say. Okay. Where they just don't know that, we can, because your CPA, I always say your CPA is looking in the rear view mirror. Right. If you take your W-2 or 1099s or whatever to them and they're just like, okay, they start punching in the calculator. Yeah. And it's like, then it just spits out the damage. Right. Okay. Here's what you owe. You overpaid. Maybe you underpaid. You've got to pay this extra. So they just think a lot of times that's all you can do. And the CPAs don't have time to proactively plan for 2024. Okay. For the next year. Right. So, those CPAs, a lot of times they're just telling you what that damage is. Right. For example, here's a quick story. I have some clients that came in and they said that they went and got a new CPA here recently. Yeah. Okay. They went in there, sat down with them. And so it's kind of like a second opinion on their taxes and how much they owe. And this new CPA was able to save them $160,000 of taxable income. Okay. $160,000 was able to take that out by utilizing the qualified business deduction.
And they were working with the CPA previously?
With another one.
No.
And that one wasn't doing it. They go to this one here and you talk about, oh my gosh, like eye opener.
Well, another thing we always talk about is the value of a second opinion. Case in point, okay?
I mean, the tax code, it's 100,000 pages thick, right? A lot of people don't know that. And it's like, how do you know you're utilizing the best strategy out there?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So maybe a second opinion for your CPA is in line here. But I would say what we do here at Bowen Wealth, we're not CPAs. We have several that we work with and can refer, and I could maybe even refer that one we're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
But what we do is we do that proactive planning for you. Okay.
Got it.
As we look at, with what you've saved, with that income coming in, what are things that we can do here for this year to improve? And especially if you've already retired, okay? Yeah. You've already retired and now you've got a pension, some Social Security or annuity income or whatever. Your income has kind of settled down to a nice, consistent number, right? Mm-hmm. So we can now take a look at that and say, okay, now what are some moves that we can make at this point here and to try to minimize those taxes? So when people come in, I could see some very inefficient, costly things that might be going on. Okay. And here's maybe two examples. The first I might see is your current advisor might be pursuing growth in an account that's going to be taxed the heaviest.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're taxed at different numbers on different tax statuses. Okay. So you've got 3 different tax statuses. You got qualified, non-qualified, and tax-free. Okay. So they might be pursuing growth, say, in your tax-deferred IRAs, 401ks, where you haven't paid any taxes on it yet. And just like you mentioned, Heather, national debt, bailouts, all this stuff, where the direction our country's going. What if, the certain things happen and you've got a Congress and a president and a House that's all in the same mindset here, and Congress passes a law, they sign it into law, and now the tax brackets on the wealthy or tax brackets on whoever go up. Right? Well, all of you've been growing this other money, and now, it's got to pass through those sticky fingers. So they could be pursuing growth in the wrong tax status. Also, they might be having bonds or defensive holdings in your tax-free accounts.
And what's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, why would we want to be defensive and, limit our growth inside of a Roth IRA?
Got it. Yeah.
Those are the tax-free accounts where I want to keep the pedal down. I want to grow that money because it's all yours. It's all the growth is 100% tax-free.
Got it.
So why would we not put even our individual stocks, why would we not put our highest growth positions right there to where you get to keep all of those gains?
Makes sense. Got it.
Yes. Yeah. So we did this for, there's a couple in Mount Pleasant here. Let me talk about them. One of my favorite couples. Everybody's my favorite couple. No. So he came in, they had saved $1.7 million.
Nice.
Okay. Did a great job. I was like, guys, congratulations. Awesome. You guys saved well.
Yep.
And I said, well, let's take a look at it. He wanted a second opinion, just like we're talking about. And I saw, he had all 3 tax statuses, right? So I knew that he was wise in the different, ways that things are taxed, that your gains, do we want, long-term capital gains, all this stuff, tax-free, tax-deferred. But they were a 40-60, so had 40% high risk, 60% low risk. Okay. So mostly defensive, but they were 40-60 in all 3 accounts, all 3 tax statuses. And I was like, why are you doing that? You're Roth over here. Why is it mostly defensive? And they were like, well, I mean, I knew that I needed to be mostly defensive. I'm like, yes, we can still do that, but we need to do it in the right accounts. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
And so what we did is I said, well, let's take a look. Okay. Your $1 million of tax deferred old 401k. It was his IRA now. I was like, that needs to be your defensive money, your income producing money. Okay.
Yep.
So we made all 1 million of that be income focused, defensive, predictable, steady, super low cost, right?
Okay.
Because that's the other thing. If you're, investing your money for low volatility, okay, and so you're going to probably have lower your risk things. So your returns are probably going to be pretty muted, okay, maybe 2 to 4%, right? Think of bonds. That would be nice if bonds are averaging that over the last 10 years. But so if you're going to reduce your risk and have a kind of a low but steady rate of return, you better watch those fees. Okay. Yeah. So if you've got an advisor fee on that stuff of like 1.5% plus expense ratios of another 0.5%, you're starting to pay around 2% there for something that's like all of your gains. If you're in something very defensive. So that's why here at Bowen Wealth, we are very cognizant of when we reduce that risk, we also need to be reducing those fees.
Got it.
Okay. It needs to be, we like solutions that have no fees or super, super low cost, low expense ratios, right? We've got a dividend portfolio, in fact, that has a 0 expense ratio because it holds all stocks.
Got it.
0 expense ratios. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
So you've got to, so his tax deferred money, and we didn't want to get all this growth over there because then you still had taxes to pay.
Right.
So that's what we did for his low risk, his IRA. Then he had $500,000 in his brokerage. Okay. So that was money that you had already paid taxes on, but then you still have your long-term or short-term capital gains or losses.
Okay.
There. Okay. Yep. So that one is imperative in how it is managed. And so what we did there is we rotated to some growth ETFs, exchange traded funds, that only sell at long-term capital gains. Okay.
Got it.
So that's a 15% right now with our tax code.
Yep.
Locked in 15% for him right there, as opposed to short-term, which would be at your ordinary income rates, which could be 22, maybe 24%, right? So just with the right management of when to buy and sell these things, we can minimize some taxes there. And then lastly for him, the $200,000, that was, like I said, in his Roth IRA, 100% tax-free. And so that one is where we had individual growth stocks pursuing, I would love to double that money every 5 to 7 years for him. Boom, boom. But, if we can average a nice 10, 12% rate of return, that would be great.
Awesome, yeah.
And all that growth, think about that, over the next 10, 20 years of their life, all of that growth is 100% tax-free.
Wow.
So do you see how with the proper management of your portfolio, of your different tax statuses, it totally can determine the success of your retirement. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you're feeling that your advisor has just got you in some of these cookie cutter portfolios, like you're just getting thrown into there, they look at it maybe every 3 months. It's nothing special. You don't feel heard, right? It just seems kind of like, God, how much are they actually doing for me?
Right.
Am I missing out? Am I overpaying in taxes here?
Right.
Am I missing out on something? So think through that. You guys talk through that. Are you getting the proper tax efficient management that you deserve? Right? I just explained how there are simple moves that we can make for you, and they should be made immediately. Are you overpaying, not just for the IRS, but maybe even for your advisor? Mm-hmm. Okay? Because like I said, there are ways that you can reduce, and you should be reducing that fee that you're paying your advisor when you reduce your risk. Mm-hmm. So if this sounds like you and you think you might be overpaying to the IRS and potentially even your advisor, let me encourage you to head on over to bowenwealth.com and click on the contact tab so we can begin a conversation with you as well.
Thanks for listening to Charleston's Retirement Coach Podcast with Brandon Bowen. To learn more, visit bowenwealth.com and join Brandon for his radio show, Charleston's Retirement Coach, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 94.3 WSC and again at 1 p.m. on 1250 WTMA.
Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Brandon Bowen is licensed in your state, please call 843-203-2030. J. Brandon Bowen is an investment advisor representative of Bowen Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. J. Brandon Bowen is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Bowen Wealth, LLC, insurance licensed in South Carolina. Market Guard is a registered investment advisor with the SEC and provides model portfolios only to Impact Partnership Wealth. Market Guard makes no implied warranties or representations and is not liable for any data presented.